Okay, welcome everyone to the fourth episode of the Kingdom Politics podcast with Pastor Will and Dr. Michael Huffman. And today we're going to look at, the amendment for the restoration of voting rights from felons, but we're going to kind of wrap it all into what's going on in the Commonwealth of Virginia with our justice system. And a lot of people will look at this and think that it's a Northern Virginia problem, but I promise you it's flowing down. It's much bigger than Northern Virginia. But to start us with a biblical point of view, Deuteronomy 16:18 through 20, appoint judges and officials for each of your tribes in every town the Lord your God is giving you, and they shall judge the people fairly. Do not pervert justice or show partiality. Do not accept bribe, for a bribe blinds the eyes of the wise and twists the words of the innocent. Follow justice and justice alone, so that you may live and possess the land your God, the Lord your God, is giving you. And then one more that I really like is Proverbs 21:3. To do what is right and just is more acceptable to the Lord than sacrifice. And then 21:15, just a little bit further down. I think this is really what happens when you take God out of everything that we've done. When justice is done, it brings joy to the righteous, but terror to the evildoers. Not even in my opinion, the number one job of any government, and it doesn't matter which level of government it is to keep the people that they're governing safe.
Yes.
Once the government stops doing that, there's no need for the rest of it.
Well, I think the scriptures talk about the fact that that if you are a law-abiding citizen, don't be afraid.
Yeah.
But they do not wield the sword in vain. That's the job of the government. So not only does that tell us that the government's responsibility is to keep people safe, but it also tells us that the government's responsibility is to take out those people that threaten. I mean, when Peter tried to cut off the head of Malchus, now you and I both understand, Will, he wasn't aiming for his ear.
Yeah.
I mean, when he tried to, and Jesus' response was, put away your sword. If you live by the sword, you'll die by the sword. And so Jesus there is affirming capital punishment. And you're right. The society of government is meant to keep the people safe. It is a terror to those who do evil, the Bible says. And so, but right now, our government is a bunch of kitty cats, and the criminals aren't afraid.
Yeah, so let's look at Stephanie Minter's, the tragedy that happened there, and these soft on crime policies. So the accused, Abdul Jala, 30 charges on his record. And I looked at this record, and you can look it up. It's public record. It's bad. It's not like he was stealing gum from Safeway or something. Now, here, if you don't follow Nick Minock, and you're in even if you're not in the Commonwealth of Virginia, you should. This guy is one of the few reporters legitimately doing his job. Yeah. We could probably do a whole podcast on the journalism industry, but he's awesome. He's doing his job. And so I've got his post up on X here. He called Fairfax County Commonwealth Attorney Steve DeSano why they dropped so many charges. His office, the Attorney General, Commonwealth's Attorney, Commonwealth's Attorney said that it was partly blamed the victims in his past case. This is from his Nick Minock's X post. DeSano's office partly blamed the victims in his past cases for not testifying and going to hearings. Now, here's where it gets interesting, is that Nick Minock found that the Commonwealth's attorney didn't even subpoena the victims in 3 cases. And not only that, there's nothing to show in the public record that he even reached out to them.
Wow.
In 3 different cases. So they just let him walk because there's no victim.
What's interesting is Fairfax County Police had issued 3 separate warnings to him about Abdul's danger, and they urged the Commonwealth attorney to find a way to detain him, and he refused to do it.
Yeah, and you can read those emails. One of them I think I read. I think there's only one out there that you can read. Yeah, 3 different times the police reach out and can't understand why he was out on the streets so fast. This isn't that difficult.
Well, the police union in Fairfax said in a statement, quote, "This murder could have been prevented."
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that was reported by ABC 7 up in Northern Virginia. And so, yeah, and I agree. It could have been prevented.
A lot of these, not that you're ever going to abolish crime completely, but a lot of these crimes could have been prevented. Mm-hmm. But we've let ideologies, the far left ideology is so encompassing that there is no possible concession, regardless of what is happening. You have to follow the ideology.
John Kennedy, not 64, the president, but Louisiana senator.
Yeah.
He's got a statement that I use almost every day. I wake up every morning, Will, and I want to follow Jesus Christ. But by 10 o'clock, I still want to follow Jesus Christ, but I want to smack somebody. The closest I came to smacking somebody was the last couple of days of session. Delegate Simon Marcus, got up and said on the House floor, tried to blame the Republicans for Stephanie Minter's murder.
Yeah.
Because they had created such a fear-mongering society that they were to blame for her murder. We're sorry that she was murdered. Okay, so we're not going to hold the criminal responsible. We're not going to hold the Commonwealth attorney that let the criminal go after, like you said, 30 charges. After being warned by the police that you need to detain him.
Yeah.
I would love to have him right here between us and let him explain to all our viewers why he thought that it was a good idea not to detain that guy.
Well, no one's ever going to get that answer because he's not going to be held accountable. All of these things get swept under the rug. Mm-hmm. Obviously, this one didn't. It made national news. I live in Fairfax, so I was watching. I was ahead of it because I pay attention to these things. But this one made national news. But she wasn't the first. And these soft on crime policies, they just don't work. I used to do prison ministry, and the only reason I don't do it anymore is because I don't have the time. It takes a lot of time. Mm-hmm. You go there, you're on their schedule, the jail, whatever the facility is. It's not you don't walk in and walk out. And so I've been in inside the pods and leading Bible studies, and I have seen people come to Christ. I've left prison pods and been like, that was the most spiritual thing I've been a part of in a while. But the soft on crime doesn't bring the repentance though. And it doesn't bring people to a point of, this is not how society acts. This is not how we can communicate with each other. This isn't how it works. And the thing that boggles my mind, that I really try hard, even though people think I'm super judgmental. I'm actually not. I really do try to understand the other side of the argument, and where I really get lost in their argument, especially from the feminist side, it's women who are it's women who are in trouble. Mm-hmm. I'm a large person. I really don't worry too much. I can handle myself.
Sure.
I don't worry too much about myself. I don't worry about my family when I'm with them. I'm security minded. It's women who are affected by these policies.
Yeah.
But it's women who will stand up and go, ice out or whatever. And like for the Jala thing, like to dispel a couple ICE myths, first off, a high percentage of these are easily done. They're done inside of jails. They've already been arrested. You alert ICE that they're there. They come to the jail. It's very under control. It's not that big a deal. It's super safe. It only gets out of control when there's not cooperation.
Yeah. Just like when the governor said that ICE could not, I think it was in respect to the Jala, that ICE could not detain him without a judicial warrant. Okay. Governor, you're ex-CIA. You know full well that ICE can't get a judicial warrant because that's criminal. ICE is civil.
Yeah.
So why are you hiding behind a smoke screen and requiring that ICE gets something that they can't even get?
It's the ideology. At what cost? For them, at all costs.
Yeah.
At all costs, regardless of safety of the people that they're governing. Crazy. When you can't, if you and I, if we go to Mexico tomorrow, we can't just walk into Mexico and declare ourselves citizens.
Right.
It's not going to happen. It's just not how it works. No. And the other thing too, to dispel another myth real fast, is this whole asylum thing is not how it works. Per the Geneva, you are supposed to go to the country that is closest to you, not ship yourself across an ocean. Now, America does have asylum statutes, and you can apply for asylum in the United States, but you don't just get to come. It's not even America's rules.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that we need to remind people and especially remind the left, is that biblical conservatives aren't against immigration.
No.
We're against illegal immigration. I love it when I hear, and they do it in Richmond, they do it in Washington, I hear it all the time, that these people aren't criminals. And then they say, after they say these people are not criminals, they'll say they're just here illegally. That's all they've done. I've heard Nancy Pelosi say that. I've heard Jasmine Crockett say that. Of course, we won't hear her say that very much longer.
Yeah.
But I've heard several people in Richmond, they're not criminals. They just came here illegally. That's all they've ever done. I'm thinking, okay, that's a violation of the law. So it's not that we are against immigration.
Not at all.
Just do it the right way.
Yeah.
If you don't have ill intentions, come here, be a productive part of society, pay taxes, and become a citizen. No problems having you here. We'll welcome you with open arms. Don't sneak through a wall and then come and break our laws.
Yeah.
And then expect us just to continue to be welcoming. That's the problem that we have.
Yeah. We'll get back to the justice in a second. Mass migration weakens both sides of the equation. Mm-hmm. It weakens the country that these people are coming from, because it is true, they're not all criminals.
Right.
But the people leaving and coming here that are not criminals are leaving a country that they could have helped, and now they're here. And then obviously the criminals are coming as well. So now both sides of the equation are weakened. Mm-hmm. It never works, ever in history. And we're not against immigration. No. The United States has a nice history of immigration.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of people who have done great things.
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of built on immigrants.
Yeah.
All of our founding fathers were immigrants at one, at one point. They're our original parents, not
Yeah.
Adam and Eve, but our original founding parents of this country were all they were all immigrants.
But it's, again, you have to have rules for a society, though.
Sure.
You have to have agreed upon, these are what the laws are going to be. And every single Western society, at least, is based on Christian values.
Yes.
It just is.
Yes.
And people can argue all day they want. It doesn't. It just.
Well,
is.
you and I could produce hundreds of thousands of quotes from the founding fathers.
Yeah.
Within just a matter of moments, that prove. In fact, I've got an entire sermon on it that I preach all throughout the Commonwealth, of quote after quote after quote of the founding fathers, that they attributed everything that this country did on Christian, not religion. They actually named the name Christian.
Yeah.
And in fact, there's a statute in the Code of Virginia that doesn't mention religion but mentions Christian. And they tried to take it out back in the 70s, but they left it. But somebody overlooked it, but is in statute to this day.
Yeah, it's Christian values that the country is based on, that Virginia is based on. Justice, the notion of justice that we have today, is Christian based. And the reason it's a very easy apologetic argument that if you look at the ancient world before Christianity, before the Ten Commandments really come along, what was justice?
Right.
You annihilated families. You upset me, I go to, there were no, do not murder is, well, even today it's countercultural because we still can't figure that one out.
Yeah.
But particularly when the Ten Commandments were given in the book of Exodus, nothing in the world had seen something like that. No, people can say as advanced as whatever society they want, it doesn't matter. Nothing came close to that in terms of changing how we look at justice. But now we have in Virginia, really in a really left-leaning place, where, so here's one from today from the DMV Live. This is on their Facebook page, but that's another really good, it's Virginia centric, but another good one to watch. So Fairfax County, by the way, the police and a lot of the police around Virginia are going encrypted on their radios, so that you can't hear what's going on. Like my grandpa, my grandpa was a policeman and a fireman when he was younger. He's in heaven now, but when I was a kid, we lived with my grandparents, and he had a scanner on every night, every single night.
I worked with a man many years ago that when I worked in the secular world, and before he turned his computer on every day, he turned that scanner on.
Yeah.
In fact, he told me, he looked at me one day and he said, "She's going to shoot me for this." But he looked at me one day and says, "Michael," and he said, "Your wife just got pulled over." And she had.
Nothing like that ever happened to me. But anyway, so this just happened today. They arrested somebody. I won't say his name. But he was a fugitive with an illegal firearm. The magistrate cut him loose in 5 hours. He had 50 plus charges across Virginia, DC, Maryland, including guns, grand theft, assault on cops. And they just let him walk right back out the door. 5 hours.
That's incredible. There are no words to describe that idiocy.
No. That's an obvious, clear, and present danger to a community. Well, this one, multiple communities. It's Virginia, DC, and Maryland. He's wanted.
That's incredible. And that's the territory of Richmond. That's the territory of Northern Virginia that they want to redistrict and dip down into the rural areas of Virginia for their congressional representation. Those people, those type of attitudes and practices. No thanks.
Yeah, and this is why people really need to pay attention to what's going on with their local officials and the gerrymandering amendment, which we did a whole episode on. And people will look at it and go, well, that's Fairfax, that's Northern Virginia. It won't happen here. Well, They changed the districts, and guess what ideology is flowing down?
That's it.
But the other part is the people who vote for these things, they're not going to live there forever.
Right.
Because it's not safe.
Right.
So guess where they're going to move?
Right down where we are.
Yeah, they're going to move on down the road.
And bring their ideologies with them.
Exactly.
I mean, when I was a kid growing up, and you and I were kids growing up, you're not from here, are you?
I'm from Southern Virginia.
Okay. Well, when I was a kid, Tide water was ruby red. Look at it now, because what's happened? People have migrated, and even though I don't like the traffic in DC. I don't like this. I don't like.
Yeah.
Well, where I live, I live in what's called a resort community. We live on Lake Anna, so it's a resort community. How many people from Northern Virginia have homes on Lake Anna? And then how many people are going to retire from Northern Virginia on Lake Anna? I mean, there are hundreds of thousands of homes on Lake Anna, many of which are owned by people in Maryland and DC and Northern Virginia. And, I'm tired of the DC traffic. I'm tired of the DC prices. I'm tired of the taxes. So they come down to the rural area, and they bring their ideology with them. The only thing they're trying to do with the redistricting is bring that ideology a little bit faster, because evidently the people aren't migrating out fast enough. And so they're trying to bring that ideology with them. I mean, I shudder when I see new homes go up on Lake Anna, because I know that they're probably being built by people that live in Nova or Maryland or DC, and they're going to bring that ideology with them. Now, if it's just a weekend home, they're probably not registered here to vote. But if they retire here, then they're going to change their registration precinct, and there you go.
Yeah.
And then you've got red areas that have now become light red to light blue to dark blue.
Yeah. And then people get so upset that there's not, I'm really upset that there's no accountability anywhere.
Yeah.
But same thing with the schools. You have teachers' unions. Where do you think the teachers are going? There's only so many spots at every school.
Yeah.
But those teacher unions are all teaching the same thing.
Yep.
That ideology is coming, whether people want it to or not.
Well, when people try to convince me that, this school system is conservative, the school board in Louisa County is made up of, admittedly, the school board in Louisa County is made up of predominantly Christian people. I know them personally, and I don't know their heart, but they have somewhat of a clear testimony of knowing the Lord. But the school board in Louisa is predominantly made up of what I would say is biblical Christians. But like, to your point, you can't, and what I tell people when they try to tell that to me is that may be true, but you can't stop the system.
Mm-hmm.
They're not necessarily the problem. The school teacher standing in the classroom in Louisa County High School is not necessarily, or Fairfax is not, they may be the problem there, but in Louisa County, she or he may not be the problem, because I know Christian men and women that are teachers in Louisa County High School that truly love the kids and truly want to honor Christ and truly want to do a good job. But the problem, Will, is the system. They are pinned down by the system.
Yeah. Yeah, particularly the teacher. This isn't an indictment against all teachers. I know that there's good teachers out there, but it is unbelievable how far they will go to the left. And you have, like, the state of Virginia, for example, these are just facts. 4th and 6th graders, less than half read at the correct grade level. Less than half.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing for mathematics. There's only a very small percentage of kids in 4th and 6th grade in the state of Virginia who read above the grade level. So why? This is where people have got to pay attention and see the long end of the game. Why? Why would we not teach kids to read? Well, reading is critical to having the ability to critically think.
Mm-hmm.
Always has been. Why won't we want people critically thinking? The same way that when things happen and they'll just, like when you saw in the assembly, when instead of just coming out and taking accountability that, hey, maybe we went too far with our ICE policies. Maybe we can she's the governor of Virginia. Mm-hmm. Can you not call the president? I have no idea.
Yeah.
I would imagine you can.
Absolutely you can.
I would imagine she can call and say, hey, can we just sit down and figure this out?
Yeah.
And so we don't have Minnesota on our hands.
Yeah.
We don't like what you're doing. I was elected. That's fine. Yeah. But why can't you do that?
They passed a bill this year, Will, that would not allow the Virginia Guard would not allow them to cooperate with ICE. We get $475 million a year from the federal government to fund the Virginia National Guard. Do you think the president is going to look kindly upon Governor Spanberger signing a bill into law that would require or that would forbid the Virginia National Guard from helping ICE? What is he going to do? I buy $475 million, and then people are going to lose their jobs, and then other people are going to lose their protections. Thank you very much, Democrats. No thanks.
Well, it's even worse than $475 million because no National Guard. I mean, they have training on their own, but I was active duty and National Guard. Like we had National Guard guys come to where I was.
Sure.
You don't have your own airborne training.
Right.
You don't have your own Ranger training. You're getting sent to the Army or whatever branch of the National Guard you're in. You're getting sent to the actual Department of War now. I keep on too long for Department of Defense for me to switch yet. So you're going to lose all that.
Yes.
You're going to lose all that top tier, the best training in the world. People can say whatever they want about America, but good gracious, we got the best military training in the world. You're going to lose that. Yeah. There's no way they're taking people from Virginia. They're just going to say no. So now you've lost that. You've lost $475 million. All the vehicles we have, that all comes from. I mean, we purchased them, but they're purchased at a better price. Yeah. Same thing with our law enforcement. You know where they get all those armored personnel carriers they roll around in? Those are ones the Army or the Marines or whoever doesn't want anymore. Yeah. And they sell them to local. That's gone.
Yeah.
All for what? An ideology? Because we can't sit down and talk?
Right. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Because the thinking with Democrats is people of the Commonwealth of Virginia really don't like our policies. So we need to get as many, and I don't mean this to sound harsh, but we need to get as many illegals in here as we can. Keep them here. Don't require that they give a photo ID, which is why they're debating the SAVE Act in Washington right now, which is not even debatable, Will.
No, it's not.
And when you have people like Murkowski from Maine and Mitch McConnell coming out and saying, I don't support the SAVE Act. Okay, did you not swear an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America, and you can't support a bill that would require photo ID on voting? You would not support a bill that would require state electorates to hand over their electoral rolls to the federal government to make sure that you don't have 200 million people registered to vote that really aren't citizens or really aren't registered. Yeah. They did the same. When Ron DeSantis became governor of Florida, before he was governor, remember 2000 when Bush and Gore ran, mm-hmm. Everything came down to Florida.
Yep.
And how many weeks were we into that?
The hanging Chad.
Yeah, 2 weeks or better.
Yeah.
Okay, got ridiculous. And finally, a Supreme Court judge just stepped in and says, enough. But it was Florida. Now, since Ron DeSantis has taken over as governor, and they implemented policies in the state of Florida like the SAVE Act would do nationally, they are in the presidential election last year in 2024. 99% of the precincts, polls closed at 7, and they're on the East Coast, of course. 99% of the precincts had reported in before bedtime.
Yeah, I love DeSantis. I know it's not very constitutional, but I wish we could just have that guy go to just random states and fix it.
Oh yeah.
Like a rotating basis.
Well, somebody asked me, so how do we fix our voter integrity problem? Paper ballots, in person, election day only, no early voting. Election day only, and hand counting of those paper ballots. And of course, now the Democrats in Richmond passed a bill this year that would outlaw hand counting of ballots.
Yeah.
So she'll sign that. So now in Virginia, you won't be able to hand count ballots even on a recount. Well, that's just idiocy. I mean, it's just unbelievable idiocy. But it's a way for them to hold on to their power because they know, Will, that the people of the Commonwealth of Virginia really don't like their policies. but they have to finagle a way to keep hold of the power, suppress the vote. Now, I'm not talking about, I understand people that are overseas, military, people like that. I don't have a problem with those people mailing ballots. I get that. But I've even had people down in Richmond talk about voting online. Okay, you can go to a website and vote. Oh, yeah, that's not, I can't ever see that being a problem.
No, never could that be a problem ever, because the internet is super safe.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely not able to get hacked and trampled with. Yeah, the ID thing is another one that is just confusing. You need I don't drink, but you need ID to buy alcohol. You need ID to get cigarettes. You need ID to go to I don't go to nightclubs either, but you got to be 21 to get into some nightclubs.
You need an ID. Get this, Will. You need an ID to get inside the Democratic National Convention.
Do you?
Yeah. Okay. I just talked to a pastor this morning down in Norfolk. The students in Norfolk City Public Schools have to present an ID when they get on the school bus and present the ID when they get off.
Yeah, my son has a school ID. It's attached to his backpack.
I have an ID to be able to get to the General Assembly. But we don't have to have an ID to vote?
No, the most important thing we do as a society and country is vote, and you don't need an ID for that.
Because if you did, then you would cut out the illegals from voting. Democrats would lose their power.
Yeah.
And they know it. They know it. Now, would you still have some Democrat representation from Northern Virginia? Yeah, you would.
Of course.
Yeah, you would. Would the Democrats have the majority in the House and the Senate in Richmond?
No.
No. You instill voter integrity and get Christians out to vote. There'd never be another Democratic body in power again.
And that's
at least in our lifetimes.
No, and that's where the ideology always circles back to, is power. And that's where, like, again, people just don't study history anymore. Like, I saw a video the other day on Instagram or something, and this I don't know if it was a boy or girl or what, but the person was spouting off the benefits of communism. I'm like, good gracious, has this person never heard of a gulag before? That's the end result. And you know what? I talked to a teenager. This was a few years ago, and this teenager was trying to spout off to me about communism. And I said, do you know about the gulag? I swear, I'll never forget this as long as I live. He said, you mean in Call of Duty? And then I stared at him, and I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And it's part of a video game. If you die, you go to the gulag. I was like, no, dude, the real ones, where millions of people died. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Wow.
It's the Soviet Union, man. This is the end result. And the end result on this leftist ideology is always just power. If you look at the French Revolution, one of the most secular revolutions in the history of the world, they invented the guillotine because they had to kill people that fast. They needed a more efficient way to do it because they took God. Well, they took the crown first. Then they took the church. They took God out of it. Interesting enough, they actually took the calendar, the 7-day week, out of it. It only lasted, I think they made it 2 weeks, and they had to put the 7-day calendar back in because people freaked out. Twice in history, people have tried to take God out of the calendar, and neither one worked. It's a weird fact, I know.
Yeah. Something only you would know. But that's all right.
I got a lot of weird facts.
That's good information.
Yeah, two times in history, we have tried to take, as a people, God out of the calendar. So not the 7-day week, and neither one of them worked. It was this weird 14-day calendar thing. But yeah,
when you take God out of things, usually it doesn't work.
No, it's chaos, and that's what you get. You take God out of justice, and it's chaos, and you get cover-ups, and you get no integrity. Like, this is what I wonder, is how you sleep at night. Like, some of these crimes, like, again, you're not going to abolish every crime, but some of these crimes, not some, a lot of them are preventable. I don't know how you sleep with blood on your hands.
The only answer from a pastoral standpoint, because you being a pastor, the only answer is no conscience.
No.
Conscience has absolutely been seared.
Yeah, it has to have been.
Romans 1, Paul talks about God gave them over to a reprobate mind. We talked about before we went on the air. John MacArthur's sermon on When God Abandons the Nation. And he systematically went through Romans 1, talking about the sexual revolution and how, and how that started the part of God abandoning the nation. And intermingled in Paul's words there, when he starts talking about the sexual revolution, God gave them over to a reprobate mind, and he talked about it there. What's a mind that's not able to think correctly in the sexual revolution when a boy thinks he's a girl?
Yeah.
And so you have a group of people that can go to sleep at night and sleep very well because their mind has absolutely been abandoned by God. Now, can they still repent? That's up to the Lord. There does, you and I both know, unfortunately, that there does come a time where grace stops.
Yeah.
And God doesn't deal with people anymore. Now, you and I don't make a call of when that is, but they absolutely are unable to think correctly. Not even righteously. They're not even able to think morally anymore.
Yeah. It's been a while now, but when I started the Revelation expository preaching from the pulpit, when I first started it a while ago, people would come ask me, "Well, what do you think? We're in the tribulation yet or not?" I'm like, "No, we're not." Romans 1. That's exactly where we are.
Right.
When the tribulation comes, I don't know. I mean, you and I could probably have a really interesting conversation about all the things that are getting laid, the foundation being laid. But no, we're absolutely in Romans 1. Right here, verse 22 in Romans 1. Although they claimed to be wise, they became fools and exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images made to look like mortal beings and birds and animals and reptiles. And they claimed, and that's the claim to be wise, they became fools. That's Romans 1. You look at all the stuff with if we just looking at the justice part of it, you're claiming that these policies, these soft on crime policies, are somehow more enlightened than you and I can possibly comprehend. And yet, chaos is reigning.
Yeah. Well, then you look at verse 24 of Romans 1, the verses you just read, and it says, verse 24, therefore, pointing back to what was just previously said, because of what I've just said, God gave them over. And what did he give them over to? The lust of their own hearts to impurity. He just handed them over to what they were practicing. And that's the scary part about our society, is that there does come a time where God just says, okay, I'm gonna give you over to what you have desired. I'm going to give you over to what you have practiced. I'm done with you. What did he say to the Pharisees in Matthew chapter 12 when they attributed the works of Jesus Christ to Satan? What did Jesus say? Hey, you can say anything you want to against the Son of Man, but if you say something against Holy Spirit, that's it.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's really the sad part of giving. People want free will, and we can have a Calvinist discussion one day. That'd be fun. But people really want free will, but it's not what people think. That sin that you're choosing, again, you can look at the ideology of the left. It's just destructive. I remember one time I had like a 4-hour debate one time with a progressive pastor, and this person just got so mad at me, and I was so calm the whole time, and I was like, I don't know why you're getting so mad. Like, we're just having a nice civil discussion. I realize now I'm getting a little tired as well because it's been going on for so long, but like, I'm just telling you what the Bible says. And I don't know why we can't discuss it and you don't get so upset. I mean, I know why he was getting upset because he couldn't answer my simple questions. Same reason why when my kid was in public schools, they would get so mad at me and I was the problem, even though I was super calm and was just asking questions, but they can't answer them.
Right.
And so they get so mad because their ideology can't answer simple questions. If someone commits a crime, should there be punishment? Mm-hmm. It's not that hard. A violent crime. But again, this is why the Bible is so important. Should a society protect women and children. Yes. Jesus said it's better for a millstone to be hung around your neck. Pastor Rick told me one time he actually brought a millstone years ago into the church to show people what it actually is. And he did that verse in a sermon. But it'd be better for you to drown, is basically what Jesus is saying.
Yeah.
Than to mess with a child. And yet we're enacting laws or actively covering up crimes against children, and we just let them go.
You know, it seems that the criminals who have not done crimes against children have more of a conscience than the lawmakers. Because if you go in prison and you've committed a crime against a child, man, sorry to be you.
Yeah, how odd is that?
Yeah, very.
You know, and again, that's, you know, they're going to enact their own form of justice, but yeah, that should not be a difficult one.
No.
That should be one where, regardless of what your politics are, we can put that aside and go, yeah, we should protect children.
Yep.
I can't remember the name of the bill. There's one in Congress right now that they're trying to pass that on the surface, they think it's protecting kids on the internet, but really it gives an out to all these technology companies. So nobody's going to get held accountable, except the kids who had to go through this.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know, these kids on social media, you see the commercials on TV for Instagram. Well, we got accounts for kids now, or teens, I should say. They could have done that from the beginning. Why are we applauding them?
Right. Yeah. I mean,
and it's not safe either, by the way.
No. I mean, one of the gripes I've made against the senators and delegates in Richmond especially when I'm in I go into all the technology committee meetings because I'm interested in what they're doing with the pornographic industry in Virginia, and they're not doing enough.
No,
they're patting their backs that Virginia leads the way in safeguards. No, you don't. The way you could lead the way in safeguards is to pass laws to not allow them on any SID number, and that's a system identification number within the Commonwealth of Virginia. Block them. That would be the way that you would be a leader. Don't tell me because, well, when somebody goes on Pornhub.com, we have a box that comes up that says, check here if you're 18 or older. Okay, a 13-year-old, 14-year-old can't check a box? I mean, come on, give me a break. that's you. So you're breaking your arm, applauding yourself that you're the leader in the country on pornography and to protecting children when it comes to pornography. And it's just like Facebook. Facebook, technically, you can't be on Facebook until you're 18. Okay, so you got a bunch of 12-year-olds lying about their age. Okay, thanks, Mr. Zuckerberg. Real good security there.
Oh yeah. You know, we're not again, it's the ideology of the left, and we're just not a serious society anymore.
No.
Just turn it off. You can do that. It's possible. I don't know if you watched the Sean Ryan show podcast. He's really good. He had a guy on there talking about Roblox, and I tell every parent don't let your kids on Roblox.
Yeah.
But they supposedly put in these safety measures with AI and facial recognition and all this. You know what they did? You know what the predators did instead? They just buy and sell the accounts online. So you can go online and buy an account that says you're 17 or whatever. These politicians are not doing anything, and these prosecutors are not doing anything. There's no Christianity. There's not even any morality.
And the frustrating part is that as I sit in these technology committee meetings, I hear these people say, well, you know, they have freedom of speech. I did an entire paper on is the pornographic industry protected by freedom of speech? And the answer is no, because the freedom of speech, the way that it was intended by the founding fathers, is that that speech does no harm to people. The pornographic industry does harm to people. I don't care what anybody says. Okay, but they say, well, they got freedom of speech. And I can argue the Constitution with them is like, it goes over their head. But they've got freedom of speech. But a Christian standing outside of an abortion clinic doesn't.
No, you don't.
If you're 39 feet, the statute says 40, if it's signed by the governor, which it will be. But if you're 39 feet, exercising your freedom of speech, you're not hindering anybody from going in there. You're not physically detaining anybody. Stella Pekarsky, who was a patron of that bill last session, was talking about all these. She went by Planned Parenthoods and saw all these people physically restraining people from going in. Baloney, Stella. Yeah. Baloney. No, you didn't.
No, okay? It's lies.
No, you didn't. I mean, it's like what did John Kennedy say? The Democrats learned to lie before they learned to talk. So no, that's an absolute lie. Nobody's restraining anybody from going in, but you're going to claim freedom of speech from the pornographic industry, but not for a Christian who wants to encourage a young lady that she does have other choices if she's 39 feet from the entrance of an abortion clinic.
Well, yeah, it's always, my rights are better than your rights with the left. And the pornography thing, again, we can't even talk about these things. And it is really sad because they will spout all day women's rights, and it's not.
Right.
It's just not. It's just not. More women are trafficked in that industry. Listen to some of these women that come out of it and become Christians. I like to listen. And that's another thing too. Christians need to relax about that and accept those women that come out and get baptized. And I don't know their hearts, but just I'm assuming they're legitimately coming to Christ. Sure. I don't know one personally. But then I hear people say, oh my gosh, this person is speaking. I don't know why they let her speak. Like, what? We're either all a new creation or we're not. But anyway, that's aside. Listen to what
you guys are having Jelly Roll here Sunday, aren't you?
Yeah. I'm not.
I'm kidding.
I'm not that popular. I like to tell my son I'm very popular in really small circles.
There you go. There you go.
But yeah, listen to those women's stories of how just awful it is. Mm-hmm. It is not helping anyone. And then, as for teenagers and everyone else that gets exposed to that, the average age of exposure to pornography now for a young boy is between 8 and 10 years old. And sometimes it happens in the schools. I remember when my son was in public school, and why on earth they sent me the PowerPoint presentation, I have no idea, because I should have known better. But they did send it to me because they were going to have, I forget what they call it now, family life or something.
Yeah.
And I emailed the teacher, and I said, I need you to send me what you're going to teach. And she sent it to me. I was like, you got to be kidding me. This is for teenagers. My kid was 10 at the time. A 10-year-old doesn't need these thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he didn't go to school that day. Actually, that was the last straw before we put him in private school. But it's been proven. The pornography thing is crazy because it's been proven to rewire your brain. The endorphins are the same as if you injected heroin.
Yeah. Your body's got to have it.
Yeah. And it only, like any other sin, it never starts, like, again, to go back to the justice in protecting children, it never starts with, it starts with like whatever it is you start with, but it doesn't stop there. People wonder why there's all these child predators, and we'll come up with all these different excuses about why there is. But the truth is that it's never contained to this.
And then they pass laws and constitutional amendments that would allow that sex trafficker to take one of his victims to Planned Parenthood, have an abortion to cover up his crime, and nobody can stop it, because that's what the Constitution of Virginia will say. That passes in November.
Yeah.
And we talked about that in detail.
Yeah, we're protecting traffickers. Yeah. We're protecting child predators with these soft on crime. And child predators, I forget what the word is, but the reoffending rate, it's like 97%. It might even be higher than that. It's been a while since I looked at that stat. So why do we have soft on crime policies for that?
It's incredible.
That is
Well, we were talking
unbelievable.
about before we went on the air. Ray Cousins introduced her bill HB 863, which would take away mandatory minimums for forcible sodomy on a child.
Yeah.
I mean, the statute says right now that if you commit forcible sodomy on a child, then you are confined to jail for life. But this piece of legislation, again, is HB 863. You can look it up on lis.virginia.gov. And it takes away that mandatory minimum. So any progressive judge could say, 10 years for forcible sodomy on a child, you have totally destroyed and transformed that child's life. That child by from all, God can do anything. You and I understand that more than anyone. But from all natural human perspectives, that child's life is altered for the remainder of their days.
Yep.
And you're going to and a progressive judge is going to come and give you 10 years or less because the legislative body in Richmond got rid of mandatory minimums.
Yeah.
Give me a break. But they want to protect they're going to protect Abdul and this other person you were talking about from just put them back out on the street. It's no sense.
Why Democrats and Republicans cannot come together and just be normal people and go, we should protect children. Right. We shouldn't get rid of minimums. We should increase them.
Exactly.
Yeah. Why do we want those people on the street? They have made a decision. Again, where does free will take you? Well,
exactly.
The ultimate, you choose to remove yourself from Christ, and God gives you over to those sinful. Therefore, God gave them over. And for women to stand up and go, we're going to vote for this, that blows my mind. But it just shows you that you can't, on the left, you can't speak against anything.
No.
You have to vote, yes.
Right.
Regardless, I don't know how they all feel. I don't, you know more of them than I do. I can't imagine all of them agree with that. Just statistically speaking, I can't imagine all of them are like, yes, this is a good idea.
No, so many of the delegates and senators in Richmond are more afraid of their party, their caucus, than they are of God. Now, there are some down there that believe everything that, there are. There are progressives down there that absolutely do. Virgil Thornton, for example. Virgil Thornton is from the Yorktown district. He beat A.C. Cordoza. A.C. Cordoza is a good friend of mine, is a black man who should not have won when he won, but he won by a narrow margin. But he won. He was a good guy. He got beat because Virgil Thornton ran an unconscionable campaign and came out with, provable lies. But be that as it may, I watch him every day in the house, as when they have opening prayer, raising his hands while the prayer is being made. He talks to me about the Word of God and quotes me Bible verses and doing all this and doing all the other. But yet turns right around and votes for same-sex marriage, yes for abortion on demand up to and including the time of birth, restoration of rights without restitution to the family or the victims, and votes for all these things. Taking away guns from law-abiding citizens, protect the illegals, protect the criminals, take away mandatory minimums. He votes yes for all this stuff because he's more afraid of this caucus than he is of God. He's more afraid of Don Scott, Speaker of the House from Portsmouth, and he's more afraid of Louise Lucas, Senator from Chesapeake or Newport News. More afraid of them than he is of God, and that's what it is with a lot of them.
Yeah.
And then I have to go back and say, what does your pastor think about the way you vote down here? Well, his pastor probably doesn't have much of a conscience either. And that's the problem. The problem starts at the pulpit.
Yeah.
In my book, Reclaiming Our Constitutional Republic, I nail pastors and churches. And I say that pastors, I think I mentioned this last Wednesday when I was here, that pastors are more concerned about their sound booths than they are about speaking out for what's right. They're more concerned about losing their tax exempt status than they are of doing what's right.
Yeah, they are. It is my most asked question. Why does my pastor not, or no, sorry, how can I get my pastor to speak on these things? And I mean, I try to give people advice, but I don't see a choice. I don't really understand. I mean, I guess I kind of get where they're coming from in terms of like they don't want to offend anyone. Not that I agree, just that I get what they're saying. Christ was offensive.
Yeah.
I had I was at a Bible study yesterday. We were doing Romans when Paul goes to Athens and he gets taken in front of the high council. So first he debates the Stoics, and then they're like, "Wait a second, you need to come to the high council. We need to have a bigger debate about this." Because of course in Greece you could debate. Now we can't. Now we just hate each other. So they take him to the high council, and a lot of people skip this part of it because Athens is such a great story. But he gives the gospel message, the message of Christ, but also judgment, both. But the part we always skip over that I realized yesterday that is actually really important. Some of the people laughed at him, and some were saved. And it reminded me of something a seminary professor told me. He said, if you're offending everybody, then you're doing it wrong. But if you're not offending anyone, you're also doing it wrong. Yeah. You're going to offend people, and you're going to wake other people up. That's the way it's always been.
Yeah.
Christ offended people.
Yes.
I don't think the Pharisees were a big fan of him.
No.
They put him on a cross.
Probably didn't appreciate being called a generation of snakes.
No. Every single, I love Jeremiah. They put that dude in a hole. They were like, we can't listen to you anymore. And they lowered him down into a hole. The king himself had to come and be like, that's a man of God. What are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, look what they did to Isaiah. What's church tradition hold that Isaiah was putting the log and sawed in half.
Yeah.
And of course, that's church tradition. It's not in Scripture.
Yeah.
It's church tradition. But yeah, I mean, that's how much they hated the men of God.
Yeah.
And I'm hated by some people in Richmond, and you would be too if you were down there with me every day speaking out. You'd be hated too, because that's just, they're lashing out at Christ. That's what Paul meant. I was preaching last Sunday at a church, and I said, the Bible says, when Paul says, I bear in my body the scars of Christ, what did he mean by that? Well, he could have meant that I'm bearing the scars. I've been beaten because I'm a Christian, or I'm bearing the scars that they really want to give to Christ.
Yeah.
But they're giving to me because they can't get to Christ.
Yeah, and that's ultimately where I've found why Christians need to get involved in politics, especially this day and age, is because it's not politics anymore. And it never was, by the way, but now you can see it more plainly than ever. This is spiritual.
Yes, every bit of it. Absolutely.
There's no reason to get rid of minimums for child predators. No. There's no reason to get rid of minimums for rape. There's no reason to get rid of minimums for assault against a law enforcement officer.
Right.
There's no reason a man with 30 charges is walking.
Have you ever thought about the fact, and I know you have, but this is for our viewers, have you ever thought about the fact of how all these bills work together, okay?
Yeah.
You're going to get rid of mandatory minimums for a child predator. Well, let's just go simple, okay? Trying to get rid of mandatory minimums for armed robbery. Armed robbery in the Code of Virginia is 1 to 3 years with a mandatory minimum of 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just make it very simple.
Yeah.
Okay. I go before progressive. This mandatory minimum bill goes through, signed by the governor. I go before a judge, a progressive judge, having been found guilty of armed robbery. The judge says, I sentence you, because here's what the statute says. Statute says not less than 1 year, not more than 3. Here's what it says right now. Not less than 1 year, not more than 3 years with a mandatory minimum of 1 year. Okay, take that mandatory minimum out, and a judge will say this. Okay, I sentence you because I've got no less than 1 year, no more than 3, first offense, of course, I sentence you to 2 years in prison for armed robbery, but I'm going to suspend 2.5 years of it because now there's no mandatory minimums. Or let's say that guy spent 6 months in jail because he didn't make bond. Okay, he went into the bond hearing and acted a fool. So the judge didn't grant him bonds. He spent 6 months in jail while his case was going. He's found guilty. Judge says, "Okay, I sentence you to 2 years in jail, in prison for armed robbery. I'm going to suspend all but 2.5 years of it, and I'm going to judge time served."
Yep.
And he goes home. Okay, he's guilty of a felony, but he walks out of there. And then you go to the constitutional amendment, and then his rights to vote are immediately restored to him without any further action to himself. So these bills, they're links in the ideology of the left.
Yep.
Get these guys out of prison quicker, and then automatically restore their rights, no matter whether they paid restitution to the families of the victims or not, because the bill says with all they have to do is they are physically out of the prison, they have their rights to vote restored back to them with no further action required on their part. So you get them out of prison earlier, and I hope our audiences really understand it. You get them out of prison earlier, and then you restore the right to vote immediately, and they go out and they vote what?
Oh, of course, where they're going to vote.
And the Democrats know that.
If you let me walk right back out the door,
I'm going to vote to keep you in office too.
Yeah. It's easy. Yeah, all these things it's all linked. It's all to get closer to, it's a longer discussion. We're just on the road to socialism.
Yes.
I don't know if I don't think it'll be in my lifetime. I hope I'm wrong. I mean, I hope I'm right about that. I hope it's not in my son's lifetime. I don't know about that one. But it's there.
Yeah, it is.
We're on the road because these are all socialist ideas of, the system has to come down. And look, our justice system isn't perfect.
No.
But I would much rather go through the justice system here than somewhere else.
My mother was talking to me the other day about her doctor is scheduled 5 months out. And I told her, I looked at her and I said, now, my mother's not for socialism, of course. She's not for universal health care. I said, but 5 months out, huh? Imagine what it would be if we had universal health care in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Imagine how far out it would be.
Yeah, the healthcare thing is,
and that's, but not to change this to healthcare necessarily, but that's part of socialism.
Well, yeah, it's part of socialism, but we're already kind of there. Even in the healthcare system, people are like, why does healthcare cost so much? Why? Because we're paying for people who weren't paying. Someone's going to pay for it.
Right. Doctors aren't going to drop their prices.
No.
But so much, if at all. In fact, my mother and father's doctor that they had for 25 years just stopped January 1 accepting Medicare because he wasn't being paid enough.
And who gets that?
Exactly.
I don't know all the ins and outs of Medicare and Medicaid, but I mean, I know people, and they'll oh yeah, no, I get free health care. I'm like, what? How do you get it?
My mother and father pay a lot of money a month. When he was on staff at our church paid $1,700 a month for their Medicare. So I don't know who out there is getting Medicare for free.
Oh, it's happening.
They know something that we don't.
I full disclosure, my wife does the insurance. I don't know. It makes me so mad talking to those people. So she handles that part. Because I'm just being honest. If people take advice from me, that's fine. Don't take medical advice from me. I don't go to the doctor unless there's a bone sticking out of my leg or something like that. I'll go, but short of that,
right?
I don't go.
Same way.
I don't. My mom was an ER nurse for years. I just called my mom. I just say, hey, this is what's going on. What do I got to get some Dayquil or something?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's a good place to wrap up. So next week we're going to cover all the different gun laws.
Yeah, you want to tune in next week? Yeah.
We're going to cover all the gun laws and break all that down. What's against the Constitution? What's going on? So you want to tune in next week for that one. The gerrymandering one, by the way, was very successful. That one was, a lot of people watched that one. So go vote no for that one. And if you have questions on that one, I thought we did a pretty good job breaking it all down. And just share and subscribe. And we have a lot of fun doing this. So we just thank everybody for tuning in and all the support. And we'll see you next week.